Hi everyone. Thank you for sticking with us until the end. I won't keep you too long because I know it's getting close to tea and cake time, especially those in the UK. But for those who don't know me, my name is Holly and I'm part of the marketing team here at LINX, and my job has had a little bit of a shake-up during the pandemic. As Michelle said, I was organising all of the LINX events, shipping a sales team out to every corner of the world. But now I am the chief button presser and voice behind the virtual LINX meeting welcomes. So yeah, I'm always behind the webinars, not on camera, very comfortable behind that. But I can't be a hypocrite and make people present at my events when they're nervous and not do the same. So here goes. But I just want to say, Rebecca, you're doing a fab job. So yeah, this last year has been a roller coaster of a year. So I'm going to take you on our journey from the highest of highs to the knots in your stomach lows. So our first kind of slide, I'm going to make this session interactive. So we're going to run, hopefully we're going to be able to run a poll. Rebecca, if you wouldn't mind popping that up for me. So we're going to try and start with an easy one. And who's ever been on a roller coaster? So while everyone's voting, I'll kind of go through my first slide. So it's kind of the fear of the unknown, the excitement, it's the getting in, the buckling up, the shaking the barrier, making sure you're in that cart and it's all safe and secure. So we just had a really successful LINX meeting, LINX 108 in February, and that was in central London. Obviously then March came and things changed. When the event started to get postponed, that was kind of a little bit of a nice relaxing moment for me. I could start ticking things or taking things off my to-do list and actually getting to the bottom of things. And then they started to get cancelled, and then we had to move to working from home. And that was when it was kind of the eye-opening point for me and my industry going, it's completely shaken us. We didn't know what to expect, and we still don't. So I had to kind of start reshipping and cancelling all of our merchandise that we'd shipped all across the world. That was an absolute nightmare. Getting flights refunded and hotels refunded that we'd already pre-booked, and had to start looking at our event planner in rescheduling all of the events that we had, but we didn't exactly know when this would all be over. I think we still don't know when this will all be over. So it's, a learning game for us. So if we could launch the results, please. See who's been on the same journey. Yes, so we're all thrill-seeking people. And hopefully we'll be able to get back to the place at some point soon. But so the next kind of stage of our journey is the slow, straight start. It's the leaving the station. You can just see what's straight in front of you. You can't see what's kind of going around the corner and what's yet to come. So kind of as a membership organisation, we're all about the community, and a big task for us was keeping our membership engaged throughout this unknown time. So normally we'd do this with a few pints of beer down the pub after an event, which obviously everyone enjoyed and everyone is missing, but we can't really recreate that during these times. I mean, we can send beer out, but we're not all together. So the marketing team came together, we put our creative hats on, we had a little brainstorming session on what we could all do whilst we were at home. So now people aren't commuting, there was a little more time in the day potentially for people's personal development and refreshing all of our knowledge skills. So we thought online training might be a good start, and some more general educational videos about IXPs, kind of what they do, how they work and how LINX work. And obviously we can't get to events, so what are external events, external organisations doing as a substitute? So how can we get involved with that? And we did all of these for the kind of the good of the internet. So we opened it up to all of our community and not just our members, which was great. So we've seen a few more familiar faces coming in our events, and it's been lovely to see more. So we then get onto the inclines, kind of making sure you're holding on to the barriers for dear life. It's kind of the learning processes, the learning all things Zoom, the testing and the first few events. So we had big ideas of what we wanted to do. It was just the how. And this is kind of where we started to get butterflies in our stomach. So it was the learning quick and jumping head first. So what platforms were out there, what can we use, how easy is it for us as organisers to use, but also for our attendees and how easy things are for them. So we went for Zoom. We'd already used it. We'd done 1 or 2 small webinars in the past. But we didn't expect to be running as many as we have been. And they're also now a year on, there's loads more facilities available. Hopefully we won't be using them for much longer. But I also had to think about kind of the different security features that we needed to consider. Everyone's favourite topic, GDPR. So how do people register? What data will I have? What data will we have to collect? Where will it be stored? That kind of thing. The endless testing to find out what every button did, what would happen if I did this, what would happen if the audience did that. All of those things. So big shout out to Jeremy and Lindsay for sitting with me hours on end, testing all the buttons. And then it was kind of the exciting times, the rush of an adrenaline. So we had the first 2 events with LINX training partners, systems and network training. And our first ones were BGP, IPv6, Wireshark. We had some cracking attendance figures, and it was kind of really giving us confidence. And we were learning something new each event, which was fun. We then hit the peak. So a few facts and figures. So we've had hosted 34 live events and counting. Like obviously we're going to be running these for the future. We've got some great things lining up. So keep an eye out on our events page for that. And we've had 1,570 attendees in total over these 34 events. We've had the father of the internet, Vince Cerf, join one of our webinars. That was a big pat on the back from us and a very moment. And then by far the most impressive figure for me is that we've been viewed live from over 69 different countries. So a few of these that have caught my eye are Afghanistan, Bhutan, Colombia, Ethiopia, Lebanon, Madagascar, Mongolia, Nauru, Nigeria, Serbia, Taiwan, Tanzania and Vietnam. So to be sitting here in my little room in Lincolnshire in England, reaching all of those people, it's just massive. And I've definitely learned a lot during these sessions. So I obviously have to sit in and watch and listen for anything that goes wrong and making sure I'm paying attention to presentations. So a few things that I've learned that I'll share is Marika Kao scared the living daylights out of me when she said most people use the same security password between 100 and 200 times for logins. So after that webinar, I got straight online and changed all of my passwords. And hopefully, if you listen to this, you're going to do the same thing after this webinar. The internet is responsible for over 1 billion tonnes of CO2 emissions per year. If the internet was a country, it would be the 6th biggest polluting country on the planet. And each year, 306 billion emails are sent out, and 80% of those are never opened. And a fantastic thing about the human body I learned that Bert Hubert's presentation was that the one human cell contains 1 gigabit of DNA. So it's taking one for you there. But I could pick multiple interesting facts from each of the presentations that we've had, but we can't sit here all day, unfortunately, and tell you. But they're all on our website for you to watch during a lunch break or to have on the background when you're working. So next one, another poll for you. So who has been to a virtual event where things haven't exactly gone according to plan? So this is kind of the sheer drop moment. It's when your belly flips, the oh God moments. So we've had a few of these and I'm going to share them with you because we've all been there. So in August 2020, Zoom went boom just before we were going live. So that meant our speaker couldn't get in we could run the Zoom, but unfortunately our speaker couldn't get in. Half of the country weren't able to access the Zoom. So we had to postpone that one. I've been locked out of Zoom just before going into our green room opening. And when I say green room, it's kind of like the 15-minute practice session with our speakers before we go live on the webinar. I've had speakers not turn up into the green room, not tell me, and just pop up mid-event, giving me a right big panic. And obviously we've not been able to test their connectivity, their audio visual, making sure their screen share works. So it's a very your heart stops moment when it's their turn to speak. But I mean, I've had connectivity issues. The speaker's screen share hasn't worked, so we always like to now have their presentations kind of a backup so I can share that if anything doesn't happen. When you're using headphones and microphones that aren't connected to anything, that have lost charge, and if any of you have been on a meeting before and this has happened, you kind of expect it just to chop in like normal and start changing settings for you. But Zoom doesn't do that, so you're there talking and no one can hear you, and then you can't hear anything, and it's all a bit of a mad flap trying to change all of your settings. My moderators have had connectivity issues and dropped out. So on a few occasions I've had to kind of end the sessions. Luckily we were always at the end of the session, but kind of end the session and thank everyone, which I wasn't expecting. And then things haven't recorded properly or in the right way as we were planning, so that makes putting it on YouTube and our website a bit more difficult. And then there's been bit mixed up with Zoom licenses. So at one point we had over 100 people turning up to our webinars and they couldn't get in. So it was talking to our IS team frantically going, please update our Zoom so everyone could get in. But our most recent event was the Women Tech Connect event, which was fabulous. We had 3 practice calls with our speaker. Our connectivity was absolutely fine. It was the first 5 minutes of the event, so smooth, was working perfectly. And then her connectivity all of a sudden decides to just cut out. And we lose her from the event and we kind of don't know what to do. But thank God our moderator, Michelle, she did a fantastic job of holding down the fort while we could get her back in. But as I said, every event is a learning event. I mean, I've learned something new from joining this event and being on kind of the opposite side. So we learn something new every event. And a quote that I read on LinkedIn this morning is that don't let the bad events distract you from all the progress that you've made. So we've definitely improved every event. And when you watch back our first event to our events now, they're definitely a lot slicker and smoother. But yeah, so if we could release the poll results, see who's been on. But yeah, unfortunately, we've all been there, but there's nothing that we can do. We just have to make the best out of these situations. But it's not just running the LINX events that sometimes we have those sheer drop moments. It's also the external events that take their time too. So when we're organising the team to go to virtual events with these virtual booths, it's lots of time making sure your profile is solid, making sure the organisation profile is solid, so that the AI matches you with the right people. It's the time trying to book meetings with people that you want to talk to, the prep that goes in before the meeting for them not to turn up. And it's just so hard because you can't go and grab people for a coffee or bump into them during lunch like we once were able to. But as I said, we make the best out of these situations, and hopefully soon we'll be back to in-person events. I'm going to release the last poll. So had there been any events that you didn't want to end? So there's the yes or no answer, and in the chat, if you want to just let us know which events they've been. But so this part is kind of the loop. So it's not only members that we need to keep engaged, it's our staff too. we're all working from home. We've all felt lonely and isolated at some point. So it's kind of what we can do as a company or as one person sitting here trying to keep them engaged and keep everyone happy and healthy. So we've done multiple quizzes. We've had open Zoom rooms for people just to go in during a day when they want to. So they feel like they're kind of in the office. They can hear people and hear what's going on. We've had bingo sessions. We've run virtual escape rooms. We've had competitions. We've had different team threads. So team threads are like, show us your different pets, show us when it was snowing outside, kind of your snowy backgrounds, show us what window you're working from today, that kind of thing, or show us what walk you've been on. I think one of the funniest ones that, from my personal opinion, was drawing donkeys blindfolded. That was a good one. So if you want to laugh, go ahead with your teams. And we've had like fancy dressed themed meetings and different like tea breaks where we all come together for half an hour and just talk and see what everyone's been up to, maybe share some techie facts and figures or something that you've learned that week. But if we could run the results. Fabulous. Yes, great. So after this, obviously I won't look now, but hopefully there's some things in the chat, events that you've been to. But we're now kind of coming to the end of the roller coaster. It's the moment where you kind of wipe the sweat off your brow. So very slowly we're showing some sort of signs, getting back to normality. We're coming on to the kind of the home straight, hopefully. Hopefully it's not, you don't get, sometimes when you're on a roller coaster, you give the nod to the operator and they'll take you around again. Hopefully we won't do that, but we'll pull into the station as expected. But returning to hybrid events, things that we're thinking of is kind of the bandwidth at different venues, the COVID clauses, the how can we keep everyone safe but comfortable, the travel restrictions that people are facing, how are people going to get to our events? Instead of data sheets and giveaways at events, what are we going to do instead? Obviously, we can't be touching things, well, surely, certainly not at the first few events that we go to. And it's how many people are going to attend. It's the in-person versus the virtual. And it's how can we give the same experience to our physical attendees and also our virtual attendees. So I've learned definitely a lot this year. Throughout this journey. One of those being that my labour is usually so loud and always picks the perfect time to rev his car engines because he's a mechanic. But to be fair, to give him credit, today he has been very good. It's the tractor at the front of my house doing stuff in the fields that has been the main concern for me. But luckily, I think he's over the other side of the field. But I think one that we can all kind of relate to is that I'd be a millionaire if I had £1 or €1 every time someone said to me, can you hear me? Can you see me? Is my presentation in the right mode? And you're on mute. And then my colleagues are my rocks. Although I'm the one kind of clicking the buttons and running these events, they're kind of the brains and the support behind it. So Lindsay, thank you for always being my backup, my testing partner and talking things through with me. Jez for always being the voice of reason and making our virtual events look visually appealing. And Nirani for bringing some killer content and being a fabulous moderator. Obviously, I couldn't do it without all of you. And to all of those that have been to our virtual events, thank you for joining and supporting. But as an events team, we are fighting a losing battle with people's times. Obviously, albeit it's a physical event, you have the person there in the flesh. They can leave, but there's not really much point. You have them there and have their full attention. Whereas online virtual events, there is always something that you are fighting with. So whether that be another virtual event, people's emails, people's meetings. So it's trying to get the attendance figures high and stay high. So all I can ask, if your friends or colleagues are hosting these virtual events, please just support them. So like or share their social posts of the events, and register if you have an interest in that topic. Register and attend the event and have it on in the background, because you never know, you might learn something new. I mean, I certainly have during these events. So kind of our final stop is the finish line, the stop and release. And that for us is, fingers crossed, next year we are co-hosting with LONAP, the URIX, the 38th URIX in Edinburgh. So we're really excited for that, and hopefully we can catch up in person there over some whiskey and some traditional Scottish haggis. And yeah, so that is me. As I said, this has been a massive learning journey, and we're all in the same boat and we're all on the same journey. And a big part of that is knowledge sharing. So I'd love to connect with others that are hosting these virtual events, hear what you do, how you do things. And also the other way, if I can help you in any way, teach you some Zoom tricks and tips I've kind of learned over the way. So yeah, let's grab a coffee and share. And hopefully we'll be able to see you at in-person events soon, but if not, join us at our LINX events. That is it for me. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Holly. I see we have a couple of comments in the Q&A. Enjoyed the DJs in tech session.
Thank you. I did. They were great. That was one thing. So at the Women Tech Connect event, that was the last time we used them. And a funny story with that is I like to try and be prepared for all our events. So I had them on in the background, perfectly aligned. So when the event ended, I could share my screen and the DJs and tech would play. However, they started a little bit early, and I'd had to share the speaker's screen, so I'd kind of had it covered with her screen share. And they started their set early. So I was on the session going, where's that music coming from? That isn't my music. Like, I've not got anything open. That can't be me. And then you see the messages on the chat coming, going, you play music? Where's music coming from? And I realised it was them. So yeah, these things happen. It's just a laughable thing that you just got to laugh about. You can't control it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Minor glitches. We have a message from Eileen. What sorcery are you using to make yourself small at the bottom of the presentation? Great insight into your work, Holly. Well done. And get in front of the camera more.
Thank you. So again, this is one thing that I learned from actually Malcolm presenting at a LINX meeting. It's where you share your presentation as a background. I thought, I mean, we've all been here for a few hours watching presentations, so I thought I'd do it a little bit differently, but yeah, it seems to work.
Great. So I've actually got some questions for you as well. What do you think? So with the URIX program committee, we've kind of touched upon, what are future events going to look like? So I'd like to hear from you. What do you think? Do you think it is really going to be a hybrid? Is that the way that we're going to go, or yeah? What are your thoughts on that?
I think hybrid is definitely the way we are going and the way we're going to have to do things to start with, because I don't think this little COVID thing is going away anytime soon. But I think it's also a big thing for us, because normally people can't always fly halfway across the world to attend events or watch these presentations. So it gives people the ability to come and join your events. Yes, they're not there and we can't share a beer with them or have a cup of tea over the kettle, but it allows a kind of extra attendee. And I also think that kind of sustainability is going to be an issue coming forward. We're always, as event managers, we're always looking for the next best venue, connectivity wise, what kind of presentation stage they have. But it's also kind of what they do with their extra food, kind of their lighting, and how they power their venues, that kind of thing.
Oh, cool. So what are you most looking forward to when we finally return back to in-person events?
Just seeing everyone sitting in that. So when we have big LINX meetings, just sitting in that main room where everyone's around a table, they're all on their laptops, they're all enjoying the content, they're asking those questions, and the socials afterwards, just seeing everyone chatting and enjoying themselves and kind of all being back together as a community. I think, yeah, that's the main thing.
Yeah. I think we're a lot of us are looking forward to that.
Definitely. Yeah.
So thank you, Holly, so much, and I'm really glad that you finally got to present, because we were actually talking about you doing something like actually in person. But it doesn't mean that you can't do something in person eventually at a EuroX when we're all
I
back
got away
together.
with it.
No, not off the hook yet.
But thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you.